would have thought I would have had so many thoughts about fonts, but here we are. Hi everybody, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be ranking some fonts. Fonts are something that I feel like I've actually used more fonts in my life than I realized. When you're writing a book, it's like I have this whole moment of deciding the font that I'm gonna use. Just a clear distinction for all my font nerds out there, I'm only using the fonts that are in Microsoft Word and then like a couple random ones that I found. So it's not gonna be comprehensive. If you have a favorite font, drop it down below. I only picked the ones that I had like heard of or that were interesting. So this is not a comprehensive list of all fonts. I just want to make that clear. So to start off, we have the tiers. And if you have watched my previous ranking videos, you might be like, wait a minute, Alyssa, did you just copy the tiers from the last video? And I did, because I think that it still fits. So my top tier is iconic. So these are gonna be fonts that are just like really doing the most. Like you see it and you're like, absolutely, earns its paycheck. So it does the job that it needs to do, but it doesn't really go above and beyond in its work. It's like an average employee, but it's not winning employee of the month. Then we have I'll Allow It, which is just kind of like, okay, sure. Seems unnecessary are fonts that are just like, why does this exist? Like why, who thought that was a good idea? Who is using this? What's going on? But manipulative are fonts that are really out to get people. They're just manipulative for one way or another, and that can go a lot of different ways. So we're just gonna see, and a lot of it's just gonna be based on my own personal, very subjective feelings about them. Let's start off just with a basic woman. Oh, and that would be Ariel. Not the mermaid, just the font. And you know what? I would say Arial earns its paycheck. It does. It used to be like the default for something. I don't remember if it was the default for Microsoft for a while. If I'm at work and the people don't have a specific font, I go with Arial. It's just very basic. Let's do serif to spice it up. We have Baskerville. So Baskerville is a font family. I would say it's similar to TNR, but which is Times New Roman. We'll get there. But it's a little bit classier. It's a little bit like, ooh, I would use Baskerville on like a wedding invitation that doesn't want to be too fancy. Like if you don't want to go calligraphy for the wedding invitation, like Baskerville is a good choice. Historical fiction would be maybe good written in Baskerville. But you know what? I'm gonna put it in, it earns its paycheck. It does the work. Next up, ooh, we have a classic. We have Chiller. If you were ever a child writing a horror story that wasn't really horror, it was just like, I went in the woods and there was a sound, like that kind of horror as a child, like this was definitely the font that you used as the title, or even if you were me, the whole thing so that no one could even read it. Or if you were hosting like a spooky Halloween party for your friends in like 6th grade, like this was the font. And for that reason, like Chiller is so iconic. Next up, there's a lot of C's. I just need to make that. And I was noticing something as I was scrolling down the list of all the alphabet. The amount of fonts that are more popular in the first half of the alphabet is crazy. And I think it's because people, like when you're scrolling through fonts, you're gonna find one by the time you get to like N. Like there's not really much, like it's kind of covered things. So unless you're looking for something really specific, like if you're naming a font out there, go with A. Like, next up, I'm gonna do Cambria. I don't use Cambria. I think it's too similar to me to Times New Roman. If you're gonna have a basic serif, just like use Times New Roman, but if you want it to be a little jazzier, like there are other versions. So I'm just like, and so I feel like I'm gonna put it in I'll Allow It. Like you can use it and I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm like, Calibri. Also, I'm gonna butcher the names and the pronunciation of this, so I think we're all just gonna be okay with that. I'm gonna put as manipulative, and for this reason is because this is the basic. I don't know what arrangement Calibri has with Microsoft Word, but like it's gonna put it in Calibri the second that you open Microsoft Word. And I don't like Calibri. It's just like, it irks me for some reason. Like if I'm trying to bring something into Word because like I have to edit or something, like it's just gonna put it in Calibri right away. And I'm like, I didn't want Calibri. So it's going in manipulative. And if you like Calibri, you might need to leave. Then we have Courier New, which I would say is iconic. If you write any scripts, like this is technically the font that you're supposed to use. I don't know if this is in like the real professional world or like what they tell you to use in the real professional world when you're in college. All of the scripts that I wrote in college were in Courier New. Then we have Curls MT. Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by Curls MT, because this was the font of my 4th grade dreams. Like, she was either using Chiller or Curls MT, because Curls is very much like, I'm having a sleepover birthday party, like, come to my birthday party. Like, it was so overused, and I'm sorry, it's going in manipulative. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Comic Sans. I don't know. Okay, I used to think, like, Comic Sans, I really don't like it. It reminds me of like posters up in my elementary school, and I just like, it's too much for me. Maybe a little bit of nostalgia, but I hear people say, like Sarah LeBrat, I heard her say that she writes in Comic Sans and it goes faster, and I'm like, what? I am too afraid to try it because I'm too afraid to be correct. I'm too afraid that that's correct. Just the name recognition that Comic Sans has. Like, I've had full on like conversations about Comic Sans with people. And so I think just for the name recognition, it does have to go on Iconic, and I apologize for that. And all of the things in Iconic are starting with the letter C. So I don't know, draw your own conclusion, really. Next up, let's do Garamond. Drop it down below. Which is it? Is it Garamond or is it Garamond? Because I've always called it Garamond, but apparently it's not. I don't know. I'm gonna say Garamond earns its paycheck. I wrote a book in Garamond, and it's similar to Baskerville, where it's like a little bit fancier. It's different enough from Times New Roman to be its own person. You know, like, that's why I don't like Cambria so much, you know? It's too similar to Times New Roman. But Garamond and Baskerville, like, I feel like they're in the same genre. They're both just like, different enough from Times New Roman. Let's do Gill Sans and Gill Sans Nova. Tell me, what is the difference between these two fonts? Because I saw the Nova and I was like, who is that? Like, who named Nova paid to have their name in this font? Because at this for so long trying to figure out like what the real difference is. So if you spot it, let me know. But Gill, I think Gill is the font that you use. Like, I remember using this in high school when I was like, I don't want to use Times New Roman, but I still want to use a font that's like a sans serif, but you don't want to be basic. I think it could be good in logos. Like, I think it does the job, so I'm gonna allow it. Okay. Helvetica is where I watched an entire like hour-and-a-half documentary on Helvetica. Did you know that everything is Helvetica? Everything. Like Walmart, Target, 80% of billboards, 80%, like almost every book title. It's like they did all these studies on it, and it's like the most legible and clear font. It also is the most like symmetrical font. And Arial, I think, is technically the same as Helvetica. Like, there are tiny differences between Arial. I think it's like within the spacing of the letters, and Helvetica is the like #1 used font in the world. But for the fact that I have watched a whole ass documentary about this, I'm gonna put it in Iconic, because like, imagine the level of iconicness that you need to have as a font to get a documentary made about you. Like, okay, let's do another childhood font, which would be Broadway. I was a theater kid. I was. Are we shocked? No. I'm gonna say it earns its paycheck, because if you're looking for this font, like, it's a specific, like, it's very clear. You know what you're getting. It's approved. I'm gonna say it earns its paycheck. Sitka is a font that has I'm sure a lot of fonts have a lot of families, but for some reason I had so many different Sitka fonts downloaded, like 10. I was like, who thought that Sitka was such a good thing? I don't understand the point of it. It's similar to Cambria, where it's not different enough from Times New Roman to be significant. I'm just dropping tea over here. Okay, this font you've probably never heard of. It's called Hey Eloise. The only reason I know about this is because I was looking, this is an Adobe font. You might recognize it from some of my earlier videos. I used it more, but I was looking for a handwriting font that was not like one of the basic ones and that had a little bit more character. But I'm gonna put this one in. It's unique and it's a handwriting font. Like, handwriting fonts are difficult. Let's do Nirmala. I've also seen a couple of companies use this one, but it's literally Helvetica. Like, the curve of the A is a little bit different, I'll give you that. But I'll say it earns its paycheck. I wonder how much fonts pay to be like the standard font. Like, Calibri must be like really out here with the bank, because Verdana is another just like really basic sans serif, but it's a little bit, I would say it's closer to a serif though. I'm gonna say it seems unnecessary because like I haven't really heard of this font all that much. It's very similar to Arial, actually. I don't think we need it. I don't think we needed another sans serif for Donna, I'm sorry. And because it's lower in the alphabet, people don't use it as much. Like I think that's why Arial, like it looks the same as Verdana and Nirmala, like really, it does. But it's higher in the alphabet, so it gets more of that traction. Like, let's bring out my personal enemy, which is Goudy Stout. Who named this A? There's something about the way that this S was written that really just fills me with like an unjustifiable rage, and I don't know what it's about, but the Goudy Stout is manipulative. Like this one's pure personal. I don't know what happened with me in this font, but I see it and I'm like just filled with rage. Let's do another manipulative font, which would be Microsoft Sans Serif and Microsoft Reference Sans Serif. Because these are the fonts that you get when there's an error in Microsoft, and I just like, it's nothing on the font. The font itself is just like another knockoff Arial, like it really just is. Or Helvetica really, because Arial's a knockoff of Helvetica. Like it's just like a monopoly. It's when you realize that all of the food brands are actually just the same thing, and you're like I've been paying for a brand name. That's going to manipulative. Nothing on the font itself, just on my personal memories and experiences. Let's do Myriad Pro, which is another like default font for Adobe. I'm gonna say I'll allow it because it is a good default font, because if you accidentally maybe don't have, like maybe you like forget to change the font into the correct font, which I've never done in my life, and how dare you even suggest that? It's close enough to so many different fonts that most people don't even notice. At a first glance, you don't really notice it's a sans serif. Like it's just there. It's not drawing attention to itself. It's a good default font. Where like Calibri is, I just really hate Calibri. Anyway, then we have the icon herself, Times New Roman, which I have been talking about so much. I have this friend, she actually has a YouTube channel about chess, and it's very popular. And it's funny because we actually started on the same day, but she does chess content. Cameron, check her out. Not writing at all, but chess. So if you like chess, go over there. But she calls us TNR. Like we've written some books together. She's like an English major, and she like casually says, oh, TNR. And I'm like, TNR, we're abbreviating. Like that's the level of iconic, is that English majors like have a nickname. What level of iconicness? So, like it has the monopoly on education. All the teachers, even literary agents, are like, give me in Times New Roman. And I'm like, wait, who has the money at Times New Roman that's like, you know what, every educational institution in the world, like you're gonna use this? And sometimes in the description it'll be like, you can also use Cambria. And I'm like, exactly, because Cambria is Times New Roman and you can't tell me otherwise. Oh, Papyrus was hiding. Papyrus is, oh, I can't decide between iconic and manipulative. Like Avatar, it's just Papyrus. Like there's this whole SNL skit about it. Being able to replace graphic designers is extremely manipulative in this economy, but also it's kind of iconic that it was able to do that. Like the spacing, did I just put a space between the P and the A? Because what is that about? I'm gonna put it in iconic, but drop it down below. Was it iconic or manipulative? Then we have Lucida, which you probably never heard of because I hadn't, but I got it because you can't tell me that these three are the same font family. Like what is the same about these three? There were so many Lucidas. It was like Lucida typewriter, Lucida. It's like they just made a bunch of fonts and then somebody named Lucida was like, you know what? I'm gonna pay you a shit ton of money to put my name on this. But they're all just different fonts. Lucida handwriting, actually Lucida calligraphy, I feel like I've used. And also, if there's like some controversial history about one of these fonts, let me know because I did zero research about this. I literally just scrolled in the Microsoft fonts banner. So, you know what, I'll allow it. Whoever, Lucida is making money. She is providing, like, and I will say it was nice because if you're looking to download a font pack and you're like, I just need it to kind of cover all my bases. Like it covers all the, like, if you're writing a book and it's like, oh, a letter or a journal entry or like a memo, you know, it covers. We also have similar would be Dreaming Out Loud is what it actually is. I wrote Outland, but that's not right. So there's Pro and there's Script, and I think there were a couple others, but I just really love Dreaming Out Loud Out Loud Pro. Like, I love that handwriting style. We're getting to ink free in a second, but ink free was the one that everybody and their mother used. Or maybe it was just me and I thought that everybody used it, but like when writing journal entries in books, like when I wrote my book in high school and there was a journal entry, it was ink free. But I really love Dreaming Out Loud Pro because it seems like the handwriting of that girl in your math class who was just like really, really, really smart, but also had like really beautiful handwriting, and you were like, can you just like have one flaw? That's what this handwriting says. And so if you're writing a character like that, like this one really earns its paycheck. And then we have Rockwell, which is, I really like Rockwell actually. It's just kind of a serif, but it's much bolder, and it's not a slab, but it has the feeling of a slab. We don't even have any slab fonts in here. That is a crime. Slab fonts are just like really, really thick sans serifs. So I'm gonna put it in earns its paycheck. Like, it really does a good job. I've used Rockwell quite a few times. Then we have ink free, which I talked about earlier. I'm gonna say manipulative just from my childhood, like the chokehold that ink free had on us. And then I don't know why we're ending with this one because there's really nothing special about it. You can't tell me that this is different from like Nirmala and Ariel. Like, I feel like it's just another off-brand basic sans serif. I guess it's a little more slabby, which I do like. I think I've written a book in this font before actually, and I don't think it went very well. Yeah, so these are my thoughts about font. If I missed your favorite font, drop it down below. Do you think I messed anything up? Like, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about my ranking of fonts? Because I think I've done an excellent job, but Papyrus and Chiller and Comic Sans, like really they could be iconic or manipulative. The line between iconic and manipulative, it's like the line between genius and madness. Like, that was the ranking, and thank you for being here. Follow along, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe. We've been gaining a lot of traction recently, everyone, so keep that up, keep up the good work. All right, I'll catch you next time.